welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and this is Brewing with Underwhelming Commanders episode 37. But before I get to the video, a couple of announcements. First one being I have hit 40,000 subscribers. Congratulations me. Thanks to all my supporters and all my viewers. And I would like to give a special shout out to all my patrons on my Patreon. I probably don't do this nearly enough, but I have also hit sort of a milestone with my Patreon. So I'd like to give a shout out to everyone on there as well. Thanks guys for all of your support. And the last little announcement is not necessarily a good one, and it is that I will be changing up how I will be doing these videos from now on. By that I mean my Underwhelming Commander series. I'm going to change it up a little bit for a couple of reasons. So I started out with the very first episode doing 5 sort of deck techs, right? Or rundowns, I guess. I would do a rundown for the first 4, and then the last one I would actually do a deck. I very quickly after that first video realized it was a ton of work, and I went down to 3, and that's how I've been doing it for the last about year and a half, or 35 episodes, I guess. Now I'm going down again. I'm only going down to the top vote getter, right? So if you don't know, there is a poll in the description below. You guys go vote on which commander you want me to build around, and typically the second and third place commander, I sort of do a bit of a rundown on what direction I would go, and then I build a deck for the top vote getter. From now on, I will be only doing a deck tech for the top vote getter and nothing more, for a couple of reasons. One, this video series is an incredible amount of work. There's a lot of work I got to put into it. So rather than covering the top 3, I'm only going to cover the one that gets the most votes. More so though is I was actually looking through the commanders on EDH Rec, and that's where a lot of times I get them from. I go there, I find the really unpopular ones, and I pick out ones that I think would be good to put in the poll on top of the suggestions that I get as well. And I've started to realize I'm running out. I honestly am running out of the really underwhelming commanders. Now, we have gotten a ton of new commanders in the past couple of years. I actually made a video about it. There's been, I think, almost 300 already this year. However, it's difficult to use those newer commanders in these videos, for one, because they just came out, and it's tough to see, you know, when something hasn't been out for at least a year, how popular it's going to be, or even how underwhelming it's going to be. More importantly, though, they don't really make underwhelming commanders anymore. I mean, even the worst commanders from a set are still usually pretty obvious build-arounds. I will be revisiting some of them, right? Some of these sets like Baldur's Gate or Dominaria United that have just an absolute ton of commanders, I definitely will eventually get to the underwhelming commanders from them. There are going to be a couple, but not a lot. I also realized that the second and third place commanders, it would be nice to actually make a deck list for those commanders as well, rather than just do the rundown, right? So if I don't include them in the second and third place spot, then that means eventually I will come around to building that deck. I mean, honestly, I think at some point I will build a deck for every single underwhelming commander that there is in the format. And I really hope that this series never ends, because this series really is quintessential sort of what my channel is all about, right? I not only want to be helping people to build around some of these more underwhelming commanders, I also want to encourage people to be playing these underwhelming and also unpopular commanders, right? The ones we don't really see much in the format. So that being said, let's get to our number 1 winner this week, and that is Kurkesh Onakke Ancient. And interestingly enough, I don't find this to be a particularly underwhelming commander. I think it's pretty decent. Again, it's just one of those ones that's really unpopular. So 2 red, Ogre Spirit 4/3. Whenever you activate an ability of an artifact, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 1. If you do copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. So that is a very open-ended ability. There is an absolute ton you can do there. Obviously, artifacts with activated abilities, as long as they're not mana abilities, includes a whole lot of stuff. The fact that this is in mono red really is the only thing about it that makes it sort of underwhelming, although mono red is actually pretty decent with the artifact tribal. In particular, artifact recursion, it's probably one of the best at, and I've got quite a bit of that in this deck. It works particularly good with the whole activated ability things, because a lot of artifacts have activated abilities that causes them to sacrifice themselves. So that actually works really good with the whole mono red artifact recursion theme. I mean, you just look at some of the most common ramp in the format. Wayfarer's Bauble, Burnished Heart. These are both activated abilities of artifacts. We can copy them with our commander by paying 1 red mana and go get more lands out of our deck, and they're sacrificing themselves. They're going to go to the graveyard and we can get them back. Navigation Orb, Moonsilver Key, again, both great, fantastic artifacts that I probably would put any of these in the deck already. We do need ramp options. These are activated abilities and they're also going to be sacrificing themselves, so they work with both the themes of what we're doing here. A couple other great artifacts with activated abilities we can copy. Endless Atlas, obviously. We need card draw, right? So pay 2 and tap, draw a card, activate only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. We can pay a red mana and draw another card. Hedron Archive, of course, is a mana rock, but also has pay 2 and tap, sacrifice Hedron Archive, draw 2 cards. So we can copy that ability, draw 4 cards. Transmogrifying Wand is a great removal artifact. 3 mana artifact, enters the battlefield with 3 charge counters on it. We could pay 1 and tap and remove a charge counter from it to destroy target creature. Its controller gets a 2/4 white Ox creature token, activate only as a sorcery. So now we're paying 2 mana to destroy 2 creatures. Pretty fantastic. So these are some cards that I would probably include in any Kurkesh deck. They're just great activated abilities to be copying. However, I wanted to go a little more fringe, right? Again, I don't think Kurkesh is really that underwhelming. There is a ton of different directions you can go with it. I decided to go a little bit more of a fringe, fun, interesting way with this deck. And what I decided on was Mere Tribal. Now, why did I decide on Mere Tribal? 2 reasons. One, I've always wanted to make a Mere Tribal deck. There actually is quite a bit of support there. And also, while I was looking through the artifacts with activated abilities, I came across a lot of those cards. So for example, Mere Turbine, 5 mana artifact. Tap, create a 1/1 colorless Mere artifact creature token, right? So this is a great way for us to be creating those Mere creature tokens, and it's an activated ability. So all we have to do is tap this, pay the 1 red from our commander, we will get 2 tokens. You can also tap and tap 5 Mere you control, search your library for a Mere creature card, put it on the battlefield and shuffle. Another activated ability that we can copy. We can go get 2 things with this. Mere Matrix, the other auto include if you're doing a Mere Tribal deck. Another 5 mana artifact. It's indestructible, gives our Meres a +1/+1 anthem, and we can pay 5 to create a 1/1 colorless Mere artifact creature token. 5's kind of a lot, but if we pay the 1 red, now we're copying that. So 6 to create 2 tokens. That seems a little bit better, right? Mere Propagator is an interesting one. 3 mana artifact creature. It's a Mere, of course. It's a 1/1. Pay 3 and tap, create a token that's a copy of Mere Propagator. So again, we can pay 3, create a token copy of it. That's not super fantastic to create a token copy of a 1/1, but again, we can pay the extra red. Now we're paying 4 mana to create 2 copies. Mere Welder is an absolute perfect fit in this deck. 3 mana artifact creature, Mere. It's a 1/4 and has imprint, exile target artifact card from a graveyard. Mere Welder has all activated abilities of all cards exiled with it. So first of all, it has an activated ability, right? You tap it and you exile a card from your graveyard, so we can pay an extra red from our commander to exile 2 cards from our graveyard. And it's going to have all activated abilities of those cards. And of course, we have an absolute ton of artifacts in this deck with activated abilities, right? So there's going to be a whole bunch of cards, especially the ones we're sacrificing, that are going to our graveyard that we'll be able to exile and copy with our Mere Welder. Shrine of Loyalties is an interesting one. 2 mana artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep or whenever you cast a white spell, put a charge counter on Shrine of Loyal Legions. That seems like an interesting fit here because of course we're not going to be casting white spells at all. However, I think it was still a great fit because you can pay 3 and tap, sacrifice Shrine of Loyal Legions, create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Mere artifact creature token for each charge counter on Shrine of Loyal Legions. So we don't have to cast white spells with this. We just put it into play for 2 mana. At the beginning of every upkeep, it's just going to put a counter on itself. And then when we sacrifice it, of course, that's an activated ability. It's fitting that sacrifice theme. Of course, we can copy the activated ability. So even if, say, we get 3 1/1s off of this because we've just been letting the upkeep counters collect for 3 turns, we can copy it. And now we're going to get 6 Mere tokens for 4 mana. I think that's pretty good. Lodestone Mere, of course, 4 mana artifact creature Mere with trample. It's a 2/2, and you can can tap an untapped artifact you control, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So if we have this giant board of 1/1 artifact creature tokens lying around that we really can't use for much, we can just tap them all down to make this guy enormous, and he's got trample, so that's pretty good. Mirror Galvanizer is a fantastic one. 3 mana artifact creature mirror 2/2. Other mirrors you control get +1/+1, so it's another anthem. Again, there's quite a bit of support out there for Mirror Tribal. And again, has a pretty good activated ability. 1 and tap. Untap each other mirror you control. Boy, that ability works pretty fantastic with our Lodestone mirror, right? Again, if you have these two guys in play, what you can do is tap down your whole team to make your Lodestone mirror enormous. Tap your Mirror Galvanizer to untap all your team. But, of course, it's an activated ability, so we can copy it. When the copy resolves, because the copy is going to resolve first, it will untap all our mirror. We tap them all down again. Then the original Mirror Galvanizer ability will resolve, and we can do it again. We could even end up one-shotting one of our opponents with these two guys in play. It's actually pretty good. I got some pretty decent game-ending scenarios in this deck. Of course, we have to have just the mirror that are fantastic in any artifact deck, like Shimmer Mirror, right? 3 mana artifact creature mirror 2/2 has flash, and we can cast our artifact spells as though they had flash, so that's just going to be a fantastic include. Also happens to be a mirror. And of course, we got to have Mirror Battlesphere, 7 mana artifact creature mirror construct 4/7. When it enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens, and when it attacks, you may tap X untap mirror you control. If you do, Mirror Battlesphere gets +X/+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So again, this works with the Mirror Galvanizer, where we can attack with our whole team. Mirror Battlesphere will trigger upon attack. Our entire team is tapped, of course, because they're attacking, but then with the Mirror Battlesphere ability on the stack, we can use Mirror Galvanizer to untap our whole team so that we can then tap it to the Mirror Battlesphere, right? So even though they're already attacking, they can still be tapped to use the Mirror Battlesphere ability. Of course, we have Forsaken Monument. It's just going to be an absolute fantastic fit in this deck, because our colorless creatures, which is going to be all of our mirror, are going to get +2/+2. Fantastic. Also, any permanent we tap for colorless mana, which is quite a few in this deck, is going to add an extra 2, and whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. Gotta go in this deck for sure. Also have Kuldotha Forge Master in here, 5 mana artifact creature construct, not a mirror, but it is a phenomenal fit. It's a 3/5. We can tap it, sacrifice 3 artifacts we control to search our library for an artifact card and put it onto the battlefield. And of course, this is an activated ability. It's a phenomenal one to be copying with our commander. I also threw Oracle's Vault in here. I love this card. I think it's great. Also a fantastic activated ability that we can copy with our commander. 4 mana artifact, pay 2 and tap, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card and put a brick counter on Oracle's Vault. And you can tap, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card without paying its mana cost. Activate only if there are 3 or more brick counters on Oracle's Vault. So we can copy the first ability when we use it to put 2 brick counters on this. So we're going to get to the 3 a lot faster. And then, man, once we get to that 3, all we have to do is tap this, pay an extra red, and we can exile the top 2 cards of our library and play them for free. Seems pretty good. And of course, I threw Darksteel Forge in here because you got to have this in every artifact deck, especially the ones that are very susceptible to those artifact board wipes. And we can go get it with our Kuldotha Forge Master, or we can cast it for free with our Oracle's Vault. So I think that's a fantastic fit. I think this is a pretty good deck. Even with the janky theme of Mirror Tribal, I still think this is really good. I gave it a test spin myself, ended up doing really, really well with it. I, of course, just have some regular old mirror in here as well, but for the most part, I think it is more a making tokens theme, because we are using the ability of our commander, which is copying the activated abilities that are usually the ones that are making those tokens, right? So it all sort of actually works together. I think maybe not the greatest strategy in the world with a Kurkesh deck. I'm sure there's lots of infinite combos you can get into here, but this is a fun and interesting one, and I decided to go in that direction. Of course, the deck list for it is in the description below. Feel free to take it for a spin yourself. Once again, thanks to all my supporters on my channel, and if you are interested in joining my Patreon and further supporting what I do here, the link for that is in the description as well. But that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.